Hey, how's it going? It is your Muscle After 40 coach, Lee Hayward, and right now I'm heading into Omega Health and Fitness for a workout. And I have a little confession to make in today's video. For those of you who are regulars to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, and you know that this has been around for quite a while. I literally started making workout videos back in 2006 when YouTube started. And throughout the mid-2000s, there was a phase there where I was making a lot of workout videos. And I did that throughout my bodybuilding competitive career, if you will. I call it a career, but it wasn't really a career. It's a hobby. But throughout my bodybuilding hobby, if you will, I was making a lot of videos throughout that phase. And then when I stopped competing in bodybuilding, I kind of got a bit slack with making new videos. And there's two reasons for that. One is I've already got a lot of videos out there. So I'm figuring okay, I've already made workout videos. Why do I need to make more? And two, I'm not as big and as strong as I used to be. And I know even a lot of my YouTube subscribers are even calling me out on that, saying, hey, you're not as big as you used to be. You're not as strong as you used to be. When are we going to see the old Lee back? Well, the old Lee ain't coming back. I mean, look at this gray hair sticking out of my head here. Right? I don't know anybody who's getting younger. So the Lee of the past, he ain't coming back, right? I have to embrace the new over 40 Lee. And that's what I'm going to do now over the next several videos, is I want to share what I'm currently doing, right? Not what I was doing when I was competing in bodybuilding, when I was in my quote-unquote prime, if you will, at my biggest and strongest. Now, even then, my biggest and strongest wasn't super impressive by most standards, but it was my personal best. I'm not at that stage anymore, and I have different priorities, different focus, and I take a different approach. So I'm going to be sharing that in this video and sharing over the next few videos some things that I'm doing now. And one thing is the change that I have in my training. So instead of doing the typical bodybuilding bro splits, I do a lot of total body workouts. I usually focus on one major exercise for each muscle group, for each movement pattern, and I go through that. So it's basically like a agonist and antagonist opposing movement patterns. So like overhead press, overhead pull, horizontal press, horizontal pull, arm curl, arm extension, leg curl, a hinge, a squat, those type of movements. And I focus on working the overall body in balance and proportion. So each workout, I usually do a total body workout, and then I'll change up the exercises each time I go. And I'm going to take you into the gym, and we're going to go through a typical total body workout. And to start off the workout, I'm going to do 10 minutes of cardio. And this is a general warm-up that I like to do before my weight training workouts. Now, sometimes I'll do the stepper, as I'm doing here on the video. Sometimes I'll do the rowing machine, the elliptical, the treadmill. Basically, I mix it up, and whatever I'm in the mood for at the moment is what I choose to do for my pre-workout cardio. But the idea here is just to get a light sweat going, elevate your core temperature, and basically improve blood flow and circulation and prepare the body for the weight training workout that is to follow.
Warm up done. Ready to hit the weights.
After my cardio warm-up, I'm going to do some general mobility exercises. So right here I'm doing some arm circles. And for these, I usually do about 10 rotations forwards, 10 rotations backwards. Now, for the sake of video time, I'm just kind of going through one round of mobility exercises here, but I will actually stretch this out and do more exercises in my actual workout. Next up, doing some band pull-aparts. This is a really good one for the rear delts and upper back, which is a neglected area for a lot of people. So this is good for overall shoulder health and mobility. And I'll do some different variations. So I'll pull them straight across. I'll also pull them on a diagonal, and that just kind of hits the shoulders, the rear delts, and the upper back from different angles. And when it comes to shoulder development, the rear delts and upper back is very often the weak link. So it's good to throw in some extra exercises like that as a preventative measure to help balance things out and prevent any future injuries and niggles. Now I'm doing some deep knee bends just to warm up the lower body, and I find this takes the knees through a full range of motion. Also is good for warming up the ankles as well. And I find it just takes some of the kinks and clicks out of the knees. And very often when I do my first couple reps of knee bends, I actually do get a little click in my knee joint. And once I get that out, then it's like the knees are loose and limbered up and I'm good to go. So it's almost like cracking your knuckles. Sometimes you got to get that initial crack out and then things feel loose and limber. I find very often when I'm going through these mobility exercises, I get that same sensation. It's just your body limbering up all those joints, tendons, and ligaments and preparing it for the workout that's to follow. Now I'm doing some rotator cuff rotations, and for this I like to use some lightweight, just taking those little 2.5 pound plates just to add a little bit of resistance and going through the motions with some rotator cuff rotations, and then I do some external rotations. Again, just making sure that the shoulders are loose and limber and ready to go. And after our warm-up, I'm going to move into the strength training portion of our workout with an overhead pull with the lat pull down. For this one, I'm using a wide grip, and with all my strength training exercises, I typically do about 3 sets. So I usually start off with a light weight, then I increase the weight for my second set, and then for the third set, that's when I'll use my top working weight. And that will be a weight that I have to struggle to complete between 10 and 15 repetitions. And that's generally the rep range that I shoot for most of my exercises, between 10 to 15 reps. And that's kind of a nice sweet spot for hypertrophy. It's allowing me to stimulate the muscles without placing excess strain on the joints, tendons, and ligaments. Moving on now to the dumbbell shoulder press, an overhead pressing move. So you'll see this ongoing pattern throughout the workout. I do opposing movements. So we started off with the overhead pull. Now we're doing an overhead press. And I always like to work opposing movement patterns to keep things in balance and proportion. So with the dumbbell shoulder press, this is a great move that's really going to work all 3 heads of the deltoids as well as the triceps as secondary muscles. And you'll also get a bit of core stabilization in there as well because there's no back support, so your obliques and abs and lower back have to come in to balance and support the weight as well. So for this one, I'm going to do 3 sets, starting off light and increasing the weight with each set, keeping the reps in that 10 to 15 rep range. And the next exercise in our workout is a chest supported row. So this is a horizontal row movement. And for this one, I'm using a unique chest supported row machine. This is one that you will not find in any other gym because it is homemade. This particular machine, my father made this back in 1995, and we used it in our home gym. So I'll actually post up a picture there on the screen where you can see when I was using this as a teenager, working out in my own home gym. And once my father moved out of that house and had to get rid of the old equipment that we had there, we donated this to Omega Health and Fitness. And it's certainly been getting a lot of use up here at the gym, and I still incorporate it as a regular in my workouts. So for this one, I'm going to do 3 sets, 10 to 15 repetitions, start off light and increase the weight with each set. And now I'm going to do a seated chest press, and this is our horizontal pressing movement. And it's great for working the chest, the shoulders, and the triceps. And a little tip when you're setting up for any type of chest press, strive to set it up so that your hands are lower than the height of your shoulders. So you notice when I bring my hands back, they're actually lower than the height of the shoulders. So raise the seat up so that your torso is high enough that your shoulders are above the height of your hands. And when you do your chest press like that, it'll naturally help to tuck your elbows to the sides and take some of the rotation and stress off that shoulder joint. A common mistake that a lot of people make, they keep their elbows out wide and their hands at the height of the shoulders, and when you do that, it places a lot of excess stress on that shoulder joint. But if you simply lower your hands down below the height of your shoulders and tuck your elbows more at a 45-degree angle to the sides, and allows you to work the chest and the triceps harder with less risk of a shoulder injury. And now it's time to pump up the guns. Gonna do some curls for the girls. Or for the boys, your preference. I'm not here to judge. Right here, we're doing some dumbbell bicep curls, and this is a great overall bicep exercise. And the thing that I like about the dumbbell curl is it allows you to get a supination movement, where you actually rotate the dumbbells as you curl them. So it really fully engages the biceps. And a little strategy that you can use to help maximize your muscle activation with this exercise is start off doing both arms simultaneously. And then when you start to struggle and that feels hard, switch to alternate curls like I'm doing here on the video, where you curl one arm at a time, and you'll be able to extend the set and grind out a few extra reps. So it's a little strategy. I always start off with curling both arms simultaneously, and then I'll switch to the alternate curl and extend the set afterwards. After the biceps, going to do some work for the triceps with the tricep cable pushdown. And the thing I like about the pushdown, it gives you a great pump. I find I get a good stretch, good peak contraction, really pumps a lot of blood into the muscles, and you can really feel this one working. Now, I'm using a straight bar attachment for this one, but you can use an easy bar attachment, a V-bar attachment, a rope attachment. They all have advantages. It's not necessarily that one is right, wrong, good, or bad. It's just another variation that's going to hit the muscles in a slightly different angle. So I will switch it up from time to time depending on what I'm in the mood for. And for this exercise, I'm going to do 3 sets, 10 to 15 repetitions, starting off light and increasing the weight with each set. Now we're going to do some work for the lower body with the barbell squat. And this is a challenging exercise, I'm not going to lie, but it's a very effective one. So for this one, I'm doing full squats, and I like this because it really works not only your strength and athletic performance, but it's great from a mobility and flexibility point of view as well. Because if you have the ability to do full squats, it's great for your knee health, it's great for your hip health, all that stuff. So it really helps to keep the joints, tendons, and ligaments in good overall shape. I mean, even if you start off just using your body weight and learn the mechanics and then gradually add weight as you get more advanced, that's totally fine as well. But for this one, I start off light, and for me, when I say light, that is the empty barbell, and then I increase the weight with each set, working up to a top heavy set of 10 repetitions. Going to move on now and do some work for the abdominals with the decline bench sit-up. This one's going to work the entire frontal abdominal wall as well as the hip flexors. And I like this exercise because it takes your abdominals through a good range of motion. So unlike just doing crunches laying on the floor where you kind of only get that top range of motion, with a sit-up, especially the decline bench sit-up, you get a full stretch in the bottom, and then as you're coming up, you really get a good contraction throughout the abdominals, and that also helps to engage the hip flexors, which are important as well. I know some people try to shun the hip flexors, saying, oh, we don't want to work the hip flexors, but we want to build up all those major muscles. We want to build up the abdominals and the hip flexors because they all work in unison. So that's why I'm a big fan of this one, and I usually do higher repetitions. So I'll shoot for 15 to 20, sometimes as many as 25 repetitions, depending on how I'm feeling. After the decline sit-up, I'll do some hyperextensions for the lower back. And very often I'll actually work these back to back, almost like in a superset fashion or an alternate set fashion. Like, I'll usually take a 30 seconds or so rest in between, but I'll work them back to back because it's a great way to really finish off the workout, and it is opposing movement patterns. So the decline bench sit-up, you're hitting the frontal abdominal wall. With the hyperextension, you're hitting the lower back, the spinal erectors, the glutes, and the hamstrings. And for these exercises, I just use body weight and focus on progressive overload through increasing the volume of sets and repetitions. And last but certainly not least, we're going to finish off the workout with some stretching. So the first stretch that I'm going to do is just hanging from the pull-up bar. As simple as this is, it is a phenomenal exercise. You're going to stretch out your arms, your lats, your chest. It's going to help to decompress the spine, stretch out the abdominals, and it's also a great exercise for building up your grip strength. And I will use various grips when I'm hanging from the pull-up bar. And if you have access to one of these pull-up bars like I'm using here on the video, take advantage of the different grips. So simply hold on for as long as your grip will last, switch, grab another position, hold on for as long as your grip will last, and just keep rotating through a whole bunch of different grips, and it'll really help to stretch out the body and also build up your grip strength. And the next stretch is a toe touch stretch. Very basic, but very effective. So bending over and touching your toes is really going to help to stretch out the lower back, stretch out the glutes and the hamstrings. And another variation that I like to do as well is the cross-legged toe touch stretch. So this will also work similar muscles, but it brings in the IT band as well. So the muscles along the side of the hip and down through the side of the leg will help to get stretched when you do this cross-leg toe touch stretch variation. So I'll usually use both of them. Start off with the regular legs together, toe touch stretch, hold that for about 30 seconds. And then I'll do the cross-legged one, hold that one for about 30 seconds each. Right here I'm doing a quadricep stretch, so if you need to, hold on to something for balance and support, and then simply pull your heel towards your butt and hold that with your hand. And I actually like to use both hands because I find I get a really good stretch, but if you need to, you can just use one hand at a time. But as you see here on the video, I'm grabbing my foot with both hands. And not only does this give me a better stretch in the quad, but it's building up my balance and stability as well, because you have to really use those stabilizer muscles in your feet to balance and support your body. So it's a nice little side benefit of this stretch. Build up good balance. Right here I'm doing a lat stretch. So this is kind of similar to what we were doing hanging from the pull-up bar, but we're getting more of the lat engagement, also helping to stretch out more of the chest as well. So it's a nice variation here. Really just stretch out all those muscles that we just trained. Here's a bicep and chest stretch. So this one right here is great. Just simply grab a bar or a post or something like that and then twist your body until you feel your biceps, your shoulder, and your chest stretching. Now all these stretches, I would recommend holding them for at least 30 seconds. For the sake of video time, I'm kind of rushing through this in a rapid fashion, but when I'm doing my actual workouts, I take my time here and I'll hold it for 30 seconds, sometimes even as much as 60 seconds for each of these stretches. And the longer you hold it, the better it is. So right here, doing a hip flexor stretch. This is really good for the hip flexor of the back leg, as well as the glutes and the hamstrings of the front leg. So this is good for overall mobility. And for those of you who have trouble doing squats, as I mentioned earlier, this is a great stretch to help build up the flexibility and mobility needed to do a full squat. Right here, I'm doing a chest expansion stretch. So we have this high reverse hyper bench at our gym, and I like to use that as a way to do a back stretch over the bench. And it's really good for stretching out the rib cage, stretching out the torso. And that is a great complementary stretch to bending over and touching your toes. So I like to work opposing movement patterns, and right here I'm doing opposing stretching patterns. Another one, this hamstring stretch. Put my foot up onto that high bench, grab the toe and lean forward. Great way to stretch out the hamstrings as well as the glutes. Right, we want to stretch out all the major muscle groups so that everything is in balance and proportion. Get rid of any tightness and stiffness. And another benefit of stretching is this aids with recovery. So when you stretch, it helps to speed up the recovery process. It reduces your risk of injury and will also make you feel stronger and more explosive. Because a lot of times when people can't exert maximum force, it's because their muscles are tight. But when you have flexibility and mobility in the joints, tendons, ligaments, and the muscles, you can actually be more explosive with your movement patterns. So working on your flexibility will also carry over into making you stronger as well. Now I'm finishing off with some yoga poses here, doing the upward dog to stretch out the frontal abdominal wall and all the muscles along the front of the torso, and then following that up with the downward dog to stretch out all the muscles of the back of the body, the posterior chain. And then the final pose that I'm doing here is a child's pose, which is really good for stretching out the chest, the lats, and it's also good for stretching out the hips and the glutes. So this is a great way to finish off your workout. And I usually take at least 10 minutes at the end of my workouts to really focus on stretching. And it's a great way to cool down and to ensure that you're getting maximum benefit from your training session.
All right, workout done. So there you go. That is a typical weight training workout. And now what I'll do, tomorrow, I'm going to do a cardio session. So I usually alternate weight training one day, cardio the next. Weight training one day, cardio the next. And this is a great way to keep that habit of daily exercise going, but it's doing different forms of exercise. So On my cardio days, my muscles, tendons, joints, and ligaments are recovering from the stress of the weight training. So it's this unique form of exercise where I'm keeping active every day, keeping that habit of regular exercise and the metabolic benefits alive, but I'm not allowing myself to burn out in the process. So I alternate weight training one day, cardio the next, and then usually maybe one day a week I'll take a total rest day, aka family day, if you will. But this is what I typically do. So this is usually 6 days of exercise per week, 3 cardio sessions, 3 weight training sessions, and it's working really well and I'm enjoying it. So if you have any questions, comments, or feedback about the workout, please feel free to post those down in the comments below and I'll chat with you down there. And if you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel, because I'm going to be sharing some more workout videos and nutrition strategies very soon. So stay tuned and I'll talk to you in my next video. Take care. Over and out.